Hello everyone and welcome back to ShreFC. I hope you all are well and you're good. That's the first important thing. And please do hit the likes and subscribe. But first of all, big up to Bhargav bro. We have seen in chat, we've talked with him, but now in person, we are going to chat Arsenal. It's going to be a good chat regarding Arsenal. So, brother, how are you? How are you doing and how do you feel about the club right now?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I'll tell you what about the club. I mean, this is probably one of the happier transfer windows, but still have a lot to do. You still have a lot to do. I mean, solidify everything, but for we're on the right track. That's the greatest part. Like it's not everything's like left for like the end of the transfer window, and it's just a good time. It's just a good time to be an Arsenal fan for once. So
Absolutely. I think Arsenal have been just superb last season as well. And this season, they're making the moves in the market, and Arsenal are the most talked about team in the transfer market. Who would have thought 2 years back? But right now, Arsenal are the leading team in the transfer market, and Chelsea with the chaos are always there. So I think first of all, it's important to discuss a bit on a Chelsea player, a former Chelsea player, a guy who scored in the Champions League final, and he has joined Arsenal for 65 million. A lot of Chelsea fans are having celebration parties, while many Chelsea fans are a bit sad that he is gone. Many Arsenal fans have compared him to Bergkamp, while many have said he's a very good player. And on Twitter, there are some guys who are saying he's the top three midfielder in the league. So it's getting a bit out of hand in both departments. So coming to an Arsenal fan, Bhargav bro here, Bhargav, seeing Kai Havertz from Chelsea and how Arteta really plays the system, and Arteta, the way he's developed some players. Many have doubted Arteta regarding Ramsdale and everything, but they have turned out to be superb. What do you think about Kai Havertz, and was he a player you really wanted before you were linked to him and you signed him?
so as a player, I think I've always rated him. I think he has everything, right? Let's start with his career. I mean, like at Chelsea. I mean, obviously Leverkusen. I think he was really good. He was really good. He came up. He won the German. He won like one of the highest like honors in Germany for like young players at the time. With Chelsea, I think the first year he came in, it was what like it was the Lampard Tuchel year, right? So it was an underwhelming year, but I think like people gave him that first year to like because of adaptation. I think it was always going to be a 2-year project with Havertz. So they gave him that, and then obviously he scores the Champions League goal, but they expected more the next year. Uh, then next year, I think this is the part I think like where Chelsea fans I think get annoyed with him because that first half of the season, because the second half was what the Roman issues, right? The second half was all the Roman
Yeah,
issues. So I guess like they expected more out of him during that first half, but I think for me like this, I think that's like the part of that's I think that's the part where it's kind of like a little bit of a fair criticism, but at the same time he's definitely done stuff. He's shown flashes. I think that's what I think the consensus is that he's shown enough flashes. Now with last year was last year was the whole Todd Bowley like instability. So it's like he's dealt with like 3 years of what instability almost. Like there's no,
exactly.
I mean that's for any player that's hard. I mean for a foreign player that's coming away from the league, the country, and then it's going to be just as hard too. So I mean, there's a player in Kai Havertz, and I think the reason I think it's a great signing for Arsenal, and no, nobody. That's not the name that people think about like going after. A, he's a Chelsea player. B, I mean, most of the time, like players like that are out of reach, right? Like I mean, rival club, like money, everything. Like you look for players outside the league. With him, I think the reason he fits Arsenal is like for me at least, he's like what I call like a glue player, right? Like every
Yeah.
team needs like a player that can kind of fill in places because there's going to be injuries. He has the skill set to fill in multiple areas, but at the same time, he's a spark. So last year, if you looked at our season, I mean, the sparks were like Reece Nelson randomly in games, like when
Yeah.
we needed a goal, he comes on and he scores. We relied on the Odegaard at times really heavily, and he's always it's weird because like when the pressure's on, sometimes he does show up and he has wonderful goals against like Southampton and whatnot. But he can create something out of nothing, and I think that's what Kai Havertz is. I think that's why Kai Havertz fits us in a sense. Like I think he could be that player that bridges everything together because you can't. I guess like what everybody wants is like this player that just comes in, fits in everywhere, like fits in. He's a goal scorer. I know he's a goal scorer. I know what I'm expecting. But with the way the Prem is, when the going gets tough, you need like spark players, and I think that's
Yeah.
what Kai Havertz is going to bring. So that's why I think he's a great signing for us. Um, with you guys, I think the expectations were different. Personally,
Yeah,
too, I
and I
think.
think the problem with Kai Havertz, like, I think for me, it's been a bit like over the blown from both the departments, from both the fans, because for me, Kai Havertz at Chelsea, see, I always said I followed him at Leverkusen, and when he signed, I knew we signed a very talented player. Like, I'm not going to go Avengers here, but it always felt like what if, because Kai Havertz is such a talented guy. For me, it will always be what if. But I think for me, I'm happy he's left because I think there's some teams in life which you just can't work together. I think that's what Kai Havertz, Chelsea just can't work together. Like, it's very clear. So there's no point in keeping him, and his development really not going well. And Chelsea also struggling because I think Chelsea has been very inconsistent in terms of he really played well when Roman issues were going on, but the start of the season he was disappointing. If you see in the big games, the Carabao Cup final, the Champions League final, out of this world. He was linking up play. He was doing some unbelievable things. It's just that mentality of Havertz is a problem. Like, he can do it. Like, when it's about he needs to shoot the shot, he will flick it. When it's about just hitting in the net, he will try to put it, just do something wonderful. And that is the problem with Kai Havertz. And I think why it's a good deal for Chelsea is because we've got 65 million for a player who wasn't working, and we can use it to get a Caicedo who we need urgently. It's a good deal for Arsenal because Arsenal, for me, last year, the way they fell off in the end, they need that versatility. Like, for me, people are not really understanding, but Arteta can play a 3-2-4-1 formation like what City do. They can play Havertz, Odegaard together and Rice and Partey as well, and that could be tough to stop. You never know with Mikel Arteta, he can change it. Last season, the guy could not change the formation because he had no players. Like, there was no available option for him to rotate. Like, it's so easy to sit here, but Bukayo Saka had to play game after game after game. He was criticized so heavily, Saka, but Saka played each and every minute of every game. The guy is a human. He played a big part in the World Cup as well. Now with Kai Havertz, the guy can play some matches right wing. He can play striker. He can play in the midfield. He can play instead of Odegaard. He's much bigger upgrade than Fabio Vieira. So you get a versatility player you can use in the title race with Manchester City. So I think it's a good deal for both the parties. So on final question on Havertz before we move on to next news, for you, mate, where do you think Arteta will use him in the exact position? Like, if he's starting, do you see him starting the first game of the season? And if he starts, which position do you see him play?
Yeah, so he's gonna take the well, he's penciled in for the Xhaka role, but like you were saying, if there's a formation change, and by the way, the way to beat City is exactly that, like that formation that you were talking about, because the team that did really well against City last year was Dortmund, and they played it. They played that system, and they played it very well, like very drilled. And if they actually put their chances away, I think they should have won both of those legs in the Champions League. So that system is probably the way to beat City because you're absorbing a lot of the pressure, you're counterattacking at the right times, and it can be kind of it can be kind of deadly in its own way. So I think he'll probably end up taking the Xhaka role, but if obviously like he can fit in multiple places, so you can even see him like because that role is also like there's also been talk about like Smith Rowe playing that role, so I think those two might actually end up having that position, but he can also go to the right wing in games. Also, it also depends on there has to be one more midfielder that comes in, and that's the
Yeah.
biggest concern for me. If you don't obviously Partey, like he wants to go. If he wants to go, which I think would be like the worst decision in the world because there's no continuity, and chemistry is currency in the Premier League. So if Partey goes, then that's the biggest for me that's the biggest concern because Xhaka's
So do you
gone.
think Partey,
That's
there's a
confirmed.
chance for Arsenal to keep him, or is done? He's going.
Well, this is the weirdest situation. If you're a proper this is where people get on the management because ideally what you don't want to do. The way the I think because the systems are complex to get right. Like I think if you look at Calvin Phillips, it took him like every player at Man City takes about 1 year sabbatical almost they just they don't play, they learn the system. So with someone I think it's the same thing with Arsenal system too, but it takes 1 year to bed into those systems. So for me, the thing with the planning of getting rid of both those midfielders, it's kind of bad planning, but there's stuff with behind the scenes supposedly with Partey, so I think that might have forced their hand and then we have no choice. But for me it's it disrupts the chemistry so much because I'm the biggest advantage we had over most teams is chemistry last year. We had
Yeah.
a team that we pretty much let for like 2 years play together, and then last year we just expanded on it and just took the next level. Now, if Chelsea, like we'll get to Chelsea in a minute. Their thing was their chemistry declined last year. They completely,
Mm.
they're like all over the place. Man City has always done well with the chemistry. They added Holland and they had to play a little differently, but they also struggled in that first half of the season. Their chemistry
Yeah.
was not strong. So, and we at the end, like us blowing. That's why I say like we blew it, because it was the year that we had the best chemistry in the league. So we should have won it, but we didn't. But yeah. So like it's bad planning on their part. So if Partey goes, like I think there's reasons for it. But that whoever comes in, like that, I think it's gonna be kind of bumpy the first like the 3-4 months while these people like learn, while the new players like learn the system. So that's what I think about like the Partey going. I'm not a fan of it, but if that's the way it is, then you can't do anything, I guess. Like ideally, you would have kept like Xhaka, but
Yeah, fully agreed. And for me, Arsenal should be keeping Partey. But again, I think it's so easy to go on the management and criticize them. But if you just look at the age of the player and doesn't want to stay, you don't really want him to go on a free Indian, and that could be a Partey is a fantastic player. But if he doesn't want to stay or he gets an unresistible offer from Saudi, you can't blame him as a human being. If you get that offer, you will take it. Arsenal, they have a player who is aging. They get a good money from them. They can recoup it. But the only problem with this is when Arsenal are so close to winning the league, they will be in the Champions League. And as you put it so well, the chemistry, and I think, see, when Rice signed and party news were not coming around, I thought, oh my God, Arsenal are a massive threat because Odegaard, Havertz give you a lot of versatility in attack. You have Jesus and Nketiah can provide a bit of backup. Bukayo Saka can be replaced by Havertz. Martinelli, Trossard fighting for the position. Ben White, Tomiyasu fighting for the position. Tierney Zinchenko fighting for a position, and Timber with Ben White can play centre back if someone is injured. Saliba, Gabriel, and young Kivior. I was thinking, wow, if they can in the Premier League play Rice and Partey, and in the Champions League they can rest one of them and play Jorginho. Jorginho has always played well when he's around a partner who is very physical, and I think Jorginho will play really well if he's played with Partey. Jorginho's best performance for Chelsea always came with Kante. He needs Partey and he could really unleash in the Champions League. And I thought, oh my God, Arsenal midfield will be unbreakable and Manchester City need to be careful. But if Partey goes and let's say Lavia comes, I think the future is sorted again. But Lavia is a very, very young guy. You cannot put him under pressure on the young guy to straight away start doing well. And again, inexperience and Rice is steep. First of all, first match, as much as I respect West Ham, the pressure for playing for Arsenal and pressure for playing for West Ham is very different. He is a player that will be worldwide watched now as his Arsenal player. Criticism, love will just flow for him. At West Ham, let's be honest, not many people notice him because it's about, oh, he's the best West Ham player. Now it's not the case. He's fighting for a team that will be in the title race. For me, if they can try to keep Partey, I think they should because they can go for the Champions League. But I do agree with you as well. I think they should keep Partey, but again, if you get an offer, you cannot blame the management, and it depends on the player. And that brings me to the next big part that the management have done now. And I think management is a massive credit for it. Like Arsenal are always criticized, they cannot keep their players. And many people, Chelsea fans and a lot of rival fans were thinking, nah, they won't be able to keep Saka. They won't be able to keep Saliba. They won't be able to keep Martinelli. Real City will take them away. But Arsenal are doing something different this time. They are keeping every talent they have got, whether it's Martinelli, now Saliba. And Manchester United fans were really happy if he can get Saliba. But now Saliba is staying there till 2027, one of the best centre backs last year, and a Rolls Royce of a player. And see, whether we agree or not, it's not an excuse, but he had a big part to play in Arsenal's falling off because he was injured. If he was fit, nobody knows how Arsenal would end the season. No excuse, you should have the backups, but Saliba and Gabriel together were the best pair last season. I'm not having anyone else. I think these two together were the best last season for consistency. So coming to an Arsenal fan, Bhargav bro, like William Saliba, the way he came, and Arteta was criticized for using him marginally 2 years back, but now he's your top player. He has signed a new deal. What's your thought on William Saliba and how he can do for your club and how important this new deal is?
yeah, no, it's massive. Like it's massive. Like it there with Saliba. The thing with Saliba that's like amazing is you noticed it with like so I was at a Camping World Stadium when Arsenal played Chelsea, and I forgot who got in behind, but Saliba just made that tackle out of nowhere. And it's the recovery speed, it's the even obviously everyone sees the Mbappe clips, but he does that on a regular where like his recovery tackles are amazing. So I mean, for me, like Saliba needed to be kept. I mean, with Gabriel, he has that he has his own rash style and like aggressive style of like pressing, but like Saliba is just the centerpiece that holds. I think he holds the defense together. It's going to be interesting with Timber, by the way. Like, I don't know if you have a section for that. The I'll get to Timber. Actually, I'll get to that later. Like, if you have a section on him, with the defense, I think it's going to be very complimentary because now with Saliba staying, I feel like we're actually going to have a solid defense. Now with Declan Rice, I'm still the Declan Rice thing is going to be interesting because um, it's going to be interesting based on how far forward like Declan Rice is allowed to go. I think his biggest strength, like Declan Rice's biggest strength, is like cutting off attacks. I mean, he's always, even in the biggest of games, he's always a stopgap, right? Like he's always in the right position, always able to make a tackle, and so the defense is going to be even more solid. But if Saliba wasn't there, I just don't know. Like a couple years ago, obviously we saw it at the end of the season. Like without Saliba, that's the biggest. That was the biggest uh concern, and like it kind of showed in the biggest of games. Like we allowed, like especially Man City and games like that. Like with Saliba, it's like you're allowing less goals, and if you allow less goals, you'll always have a chance. You always have a chance. So I mean, it's huge. This is like one of the biggest. This is probably one of the most important signings. I think like he obviously like the negotiations, the way it went, it was like $100,000. Arsenal were surprised at his demands. I'm like, he's worth about 250, especially with PSG.
Yeah.
If PSG wanted to put down 250, 300, they could have. Like that would have been like a French
And
young
I think you
defender.
have now, like literally with
It's a
Timber
bargain.
coming in, we'll go to the Timber as well, Timber to Arsenal. You have such young centre back group now. Ben White can play in centre back if required. Kivior is a young guy, but I still think he needs a lot of development. You go to a Saliba and Gabriel, both are still very young. Declan Rice people have forgotten at West Ham, he had played at centre back for some time. He's a left footed player, and three at the back for Arsenal at some point could even be used next season. So now coming to Timber, what's your opinion on this signing, bro? Because I think this guy is such a good young talent. He still needs development. I think Arteta won't straight away throw him, but having him as an option for the future as well as current, that's good cooking in the centre backs for me. That is some pairing, bro.
Yeah, Timber's an interesting signing, young talent. The one thing it's interesting because there's two things with Timber. One is like I can't wait till he comes because then we can see what his physicality is like. Because obviously Premier League adaptation is different, so that's one part. But the second part is he always goes forward. He goes forward a lot, right? So I wonder if Arteta is going to allow that, or if he's going to rein him back in. So for me personally, I think if he allows him to go forward, we have a creative. His passing is really good too. So I think we're going to have. So Zinchenko, like last year, was so initially we had Odegaard and we had like Zinchenko, and they created from deep. But when Zinchenko got hurt, like some of that creativity went. With Timber, I could see us having a third level of like creativity from the back. So that's why, like, I think I'm excited for this one. But I'll be right back, by the way. Like,
Absolutely sure. So, guys, having a bit of chat here, and I think overall Arsenal are having some fantastic window. I really want to go to this one. I really want to go because for me, this is a link which scares me as a Chelsea fan. Because for me, this guy, if he goes to Arsenal, which I don't think Real Madrid will allow because he's such a good young talent, but Real Madrid need to sign Mbappe. Rumors are coming. They need to let go of one of Valverde and tchouameni. And I think this guy is one of the most underrated midfielder who I think not been treated well. I will say Ancelotti is still a very good manager, but he should have been used more and he could have been used more. I think if Arsenal get him, I think for City, it's alarm bells. For me, this guy is a fantastic player. My alternative to Caicedo, and I think he's at a very, very good level. If you don't get Caicedo, we should be going straight in for this guy because I think he's a fantastic player. And Real Madrid, I think, will let him go if you pay 80 to 100 million. I think Real Madrid want to keep one of him and Valverde. They won't let both of them go. But because they've already brought Bellingham, they want to go full in for Mbappe. They want to build an attack of Mbappe Vinicius Jr. in the future with Osimhen. I think tchouameni or Valverde will be there, and I respect Valverde, but I'll have tchouameni any day of the week. And I think he's a player at a very good level, like Caicedo, and he could be a fantastic player. So I think if Arsenal go and sign him, I think this is a fantastic guy. And we'll come to you straight away on here, Bhargav, bro. Like, he's been linked to Arsenal now, not by any big source so far, like from Fabrizio or anyone, but it's been rumored that if Arsenal don't get their target, and big up to Chirag Bhai, big up Chirag bro, let's really have an interaction, Chirag Bhai. Hopefully we collaborate. So big up to Chirag Bhai, Football Medico. Guys, go there to his channel, Football Medico. Subscribe. Chirag Bhai always has an 11 p.m. show. So do go there and subscribe. Great content by Chirag Bhai. And hopefully in future we together collab and we'll chat all Chelsea. Bhargav bro, like coming on to this signing, like Rice is happening, and let's say Partey goes. If you get this guy, like what are your opinions and how much, like on how to the earth you will be if you're able to really snap this guy?
Yeah, no, this would be an insane signing. I mean, I'll give you an example. So obviously everyone knows like the France goal that he scored, like long range goals. Long range goals are part of his like arsenal, right? And one of the things I've always said is like the Premier League's been lacking since I started watching it. Like one of the things that's gone down over the years is long range goals. And I think he's one of those guys. If he's developed right, I think he has every single thing to be a top midfielder for years. I think that with Madrid, it's they obviously have so much talent, and I think he's one of those people that I'm like, if we get that, that's a star signing. And I think the reason it could happen is it all depends on Mbappe, because I think that Mbappe one is I think Mbappe is gonna leave. Like about 85% sure that he's probably gonna leave because PSG are done with him almost. Like they're like publicly like they want to keep him because he's a friend. He fits the mold. He's a French superstar, and but at the same time, like there comes a point where I think it's just too much demands. There comes a point. There's like a limit for even them, like on the demands and all that. So I think if Mbappe goes over there, like Madrid have to sell for FFP reasons, and if that's the case, then Tchouameni is probably going to come. Like the other option would have been Camavinga, but I think like Arsenal would link with like Camavinga years ago. But I think like money wise, I think Tchouameni would like be the make weight in that one. So it could happen, and it would be an amazing signing. I think, and that's the thing.
Record breaking, like. If you look at this midfield now, and I think this will only be possible if Partey goes to Saudi for 40-50 million. I think if Partey stays, I don't think this signing is happening. But if Partey goes, I think this is the option Arsenal should at least explore over Lavia, because Lavia is a very good guy. But Lavia for me is still very inexperienced. And please leave Lavia for Chelsea. I want Lavia, and right now I want Conference League football next season. So please let us have Lavia so we can get Conference League football, because right now it's a chaos at Chelsea. But I'm very happy so far that at least we are stable right now, getting up with stability, getting players going. And that brings me to another Arsenal player we need to talk about. And you can see the main Arsenal player we need to talk about, that is Declan Rice, one of the most underrated player in the league, one of the most ridiculous player in the league, but a guy who is top player and is a leader as well in the future. Arsenal are getting a lot of criticism, Bhargav bro, in terms of the money they have paid and everything, and it's very overpayment by a lot of people. But I will say my opinion, I don't think it's an overpayment. You have to pay those money. We paid 120 for Enzo Fernandez, and Enzo Fernandez for me is a top player, and you have to pay those money. Chelsea paid 120 million. United paid 60-70 for a top player in Casemiro, but 60-70 million for a player that's around above 30. And for me, Declan Rice, I think it's a no-brainer. If you want a player, pay the damn money. Coming to you, brother, what do you think? What's your opinion on Declan Rice? And do you think you were happy with the payment, or you say let the money go away? I want Rice at this club. Your voice is in mute, I believe.
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, so there's a couple ways to look at this, I think. So the way you're supposed to view contracts is if you buy a player, and I think this was like a mistake like every club makes. It's a risk, right, for 4 years. So, but it's a 4-year investment. So I think with like someone like Rice, I think they earmarked this guy as somebody for the next like 4 or 5 years. So they took that risk in a sense of like we're just gonna go with it, and this is for the next 4 to 5 years, and this is what we're investing in. Now, obviously, you know how like it goes. Like if poor performances happen, people are just going to get on the case and be like, it's a terrible contract. But you're taking that risk with every player. And this guy, the reason I think it could be worth it is because his biggest like lack is like goals and like goals, and he needs his passing to improve. His awareness is fantastic. His leadership is fantastic. Um, so the debate was between him and Caicedo. Caicedo has the athletic ability. Rice has like the knowledge, the awareness. He's always in the right positions. There's certain things that are like really coachable about him. So I think they earmarked this player to be like it's a process with this guy, but like I think he's gonna be somebody good at the club. And I think English also helps because that means English helps for two reasons. One, the fans that are actually there, they'll get behind this player a little bit more. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Like I mean, culturally, like they feel like he's one of our own in a sense. Like regardless of regardless of him not coming through the academy. The other part is with him is like if he's gonna be like if he's gonna be here for a long time, you pay that money. You pay that money because that's gonna be the face of your franchise, a face of your franchise, for years to come. So I think that's what they look into Declan Rice as. Like he wants to win, he wants to compete, and he has a skill set. So they went in on him. I mean, that's the player that they went for. Now, yeah, he has a lot to do. I mean, is he going to get the captaincy? I don't. It would be kind of disrespectful to Odegaard.
Yeah.
But if it happens like
I
2
think they'll
years
look
down the
in the
road,
future. I
I wouldn't mind
believe
it.
in 2-3 years, I think they'll look at it. But right now, Odegaard has done everything right. And for me, I think it's very overrated to have the captaincy arm badge. Like you can be a leader in the dressing room, and Rice might just bring that. You already have a Zinchenko who is a leader. You have player like Odegaard already, and I think Arsenal are building some leaders, and that's the identity of Arteta. Like Arteta was criticized, but he's building some leader where even if in future, like hopefully this does not happen if you're an Arsenal fan, but if he leaves or the time doesn't go well, he's built a future where any manager will love to manage his squad. That's the way Arsenal are going right now. They're building a young team. They're building a team which has character, which has identity, and that's why I really praise this Arsenal side because has a rival, yes, it's frustrating and it's not good to see, but overall has an overall team. The way they're building is a lesson to Tottenham, lesson to Chelsea that you can still compete. And my only doubts about Arsenal were Kroenke's that because I've seen Arsenal in my lifetime come this close and Kroenke is not putting the money and them going a bit down. For the first time, I've seen Kroenke is now backing their talk and backing the club. For me, my only fear of Arsenal was this season, if they don't go and spend the money, then there's no benefit of title race if you don't go up. Now they're backing Arteta. They have signed Rice. They have signed Havertz. They have signed Timber. They are going for players like tchouameni and Lavia. That shows Kroenke knows it's now time to go for the next thing. And I think Arsenal are really developing well. On Rice, for me, in a simple opinion, I think Rice will need a bit of patience by the fans because Arteta and Pep's system are a bit difficult to understand at first sight. But in 1 to 2 months, in a side like Arsenal, this guy's going to cook. And I think for Rice to do well, they need to keep Partey because Partey can help Rice start the season a bit better when he learn. And once this side goes kicking, they are going to be tough to stop. And final discussion for today, and I think this had to happen because he has come in for heavily criticism for in his Arsenal tenure for last 3 years now, including me because he, as a rival fan, I was seeing Arsenal struggling in 8th, so I thought they should be thinking something different. But the way he has brought Arsenal side, you have to admire it. But still, there are many rival fans that are saying that if he doesn't win the title this year or a major trophy, questions have to be asked of him, and that is Mikel Arteta. So on Mikel Arteta, Bhargav was coming to you because you have seen your club finish 8th, 5th, and criticisms coming in between, and some people Arteta out, some in. And now you saw the benefits, Super Mick Arteta, the fans in absolute synchronization last season. What do you think of Mikel Arteta? And do you think that if this season you don't go on and win the league or a Champions League, he still will be like fully backed by the fans? Or do you think that if you don't win something this season, then with signings, the pressure could be a bit more?
Yeah, so this is a this is a loaded question because, and it also depends on age groups that you ask. Um, it's weird, man. The Arsenal fan base is it's there's a lot of extremes in the fan base, and I think it's I don't know why, but like it does show a little bit more. So I think like the people that are a lot older, they've seen titles, they've seen a lot, they've seen titles, they've seen a lot of successes, and they're very lucky to see it. They're like, like this club's always been built on winning. For years, it's been like bad decisions, and there's the people that are older also are like just starving to see another like success, like big success, like Champions League or like Champions League or title. So with them, it's like, all right, so he has to get a title. That has to be like it's title or nothing. And in a way, like the reason I'm with that at times is because, all right, my brother became a Man City fan like 10 years ago. He's seen about like 19 titles, and Arsenal I've seen like maybe five like FA Cups and whatnot. So and this was and it was like management errors after management errors. So in a sense, like um that part of the fan base is like, you should have gotten over the line. Uh, when you're just talking about coaching, the biggest criticism of Arteta is in the European games. He doesn't. The team just like somehow doesn't do well in like double leg ties, like Villarreal. Like there's always like big
Yeah.
decisions that like you can point to Villarreal, you can point to like the Europa League exits, and it's like it's not an entitlement because those are tough ties. I think most people know those are tough ties, but like that's for a lot of people. Like for me, like I kind of get jealous at times with looking at Chelsea because you guys make it through you guys have won 2 Champions Leagues in my lifetime. Like, and for me, that's the biggest trophy that I want. So like, Arteta doesn't, if that's why like next year he has to get out of the group stage and he has to go on a deep run.
Yeah.
And if it's at Wembley, like you better go for like the Champions League, like one way, like
And
to
being
make it
very
to like
honest, like
Wembley.
Champions League, as much as the Champions League is one of the most beautiful competition to win, I think Champions League next year is very gettable because, see, being very, very honest, if you see the level of teams in Europe, Bayern Munich, very uncertain. Nobody knows what's going on at that. They are absolutely going in confusion right now, Bayern Munich. Then you go to
Yeah,
PSG. Now they are going on a bit of self-sustaining project signing youngsters. So this is going to be a bit of different PSG. Then you go on towards the teams like Manchester City, they are at the top. Real
yeah,
Madrid, as much as Real are so good, now without Benzema, who Joselu as a striker, I don't know how much he's going to score. And suddenly that fear of Real Madrid with that 4-0 defeat has to slowly a bit diminished. And Ancelotti fans are frustrated and they have to win La Liga. Barca destroyed them last year. They have to fight for the pride. They can leave the Champions League aside. They've won so many now. And being very honest, in Europe, like if Arsenal are drawn, let's say with Real Madrid in round of 16, and you get knocked out, fair enough. That's the top team in Europe. Bayern Munich, fair enough. Manchester, fair enough. But who else in the world which I can go and say, yeah, Arsenal can't beat them? There's no one.
yeah. Yeah, but Champions League is different, man. It's just very different because as much as like the English teams like go out there and say we should win every game, a lot of those teams they have tactics that are like really good, like really well drilled, and then you also run into the issue of like a lot of teams play possum really well. So a lot of the
Hmm.
Spanish and like Italian teams they play possum really well.
But I
So
think
like
last year,
they're
if you see,
really
the draw was one of the most strangest draw I've seen because I think even if how bad we were, we got Real Madrid and Manchester City on the way. I think if
yeah
we had a bit of favorable draw, even after being 12, even we might have been in semi-final. I think no disrespect AC Milan, I really respect AC Milan, but that was the same AC Milan side. We battered 3-0 and we beat them 2-0 at Milan. So I think Champions League last year was a bit strange. And I think overall, being very honest, I think this is the most, for me, Bhargav, this is the most strangest time in Europe because every team is undergoing transformation. City are unstoppable. Bayern are just sacking managers, sacking their executives. You go to PSG and they are in total chaos. Manchester United, they really have no owner right now, the way it's going on. And Qatar this, but right now nothing has been announced. So they are in frustration. Chelsea,
yeah
total chaos. Total chaos. Nobody knows what's going on. We don't even know will we have a 25-man squad at the start of the season, how it's going on right now. Then you have got Tottenham Hotspur now, what they'll do, Postecoglou, what he can provide. I think this is the most strangest time in Europe for me, bro. And I think if there's any chance to do well, is this time. But just coming on to Arteta question, like you have said for me one thing very well that he has to have a bit of pressure to do well this year. But do you think that even if in future he doesn't do well, he has left a bit of legacy here in terms of the players he's building that if he's there to take them to the glory, fantastic. If he's not there to take them to the glory, he has built something which he should be really praised for because he gets a lot of criticism for some Arsenal fans as well that he's this, he's that. But to be really honest, Arsenal side 3 years back, I remember that side. That was a bad side, bro. And now you are a side of respect because you are not that Arsenal side with no Jones. I'm scared of this Arsenal side. Gabriel and Saliba rocked up at Stamford Bridge and they bullied us. I never thought Chelsea will be
Yeah.
bullied by Arsenal. We were bullied. We were kids. Saliba, Gabriel handling the same Havertz like kids. And for you, bro, how do you think? Like, you have seen Arsenal from being bullied to now bully. Like, how much do you credit Arteta for that?
Oh no, he deserves some. He deserves a decent amount of credit. I think he's molded the players really well and into better players. I think everybody says he's made them. He's definitely made like all the players better. Um, Even you can go down the list like every player like Nuno Tavares, like you can go really far down and like even Pepe, like Pepe's gotten better. Like there's stuff that he's done that have gotten better. I think with him, like with Arteta, like men, he's definitely a good coach. The problem with him is obviously one is like the success.
Bro, your voice is like not coming. Your voice is not audible. Yeah, your voice is struggling. It's not coming, the voice. So people, till he comes back, for me, Mikael has done a fantastic job. But for me, as a Chelsea fan, I think there has to be a bit of pressure on him. Like, being very honest, I think he's a top manager the way he's doing, and I think he's done a splendid job. I remember Arsenal, a team that used to be bullied, and he has built them into a team that are men's now. From Socrates to Gabriel, from disasters of Holding to now Saliba. Now they've TNE, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, Ben White. I think they are doing a splendid job so far, Arsenal Football Club, the way they are building. Now they have got each two players fighting for a position: Tomiyasu, Ben White, Tierney, Zinchenko, Saliba, Gabriel, Kiwi, or Timber. They've also got good gun goalkeeper in Ramsdale. They have Rice. Right now, you can say Partey. Sadly, Xhaka is leaving, but an experienced Jorginho. They have players like Reece Nelson, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, Odegaard, Fabio Vera, Havertz, Nketiah, Gabriel, Jesus. The depth they have got and the young depth they have got and the future depth they have got is fantastic. Saka will only climb ladders and become one of the best. Martinelli will climb ladders and become one of the best. Odegaard is only going to become better and better and better. And Odegaard, Rice, Saka, Martinelli, all these players are leaders. Trossard is a bit old, but he's at his prime right now. Gabriel Jesus is still very young, and the guy is one of the best strikers for me in terms of what he provides. He might not give you 25 goals, but the guy is a nonsense to handle for defenders. For me, Saliba is a top defender who in future will be playing number one for France with Konate. And then you got Gabriel for me, a player I really like from Arsenal. And then you go to Ramsdale, who is only getting better. For me, Mikael deserves a massive credit for it. And in future, if it doesn't even work, he has already laid foundations for Arsenal to win major trophies. I think, being very honest, I think there has to be a bit of pressure this season on Mikael, not in winning the title, but doing well. I think this season, with the depth and the signings Arsenal have made, they need to go heavily for at least a FA Cup, at least a Carabao Cup. They need to go for the trophies, compete in the Champions League, get out of the group stage, and even if they get a Real Madrid, at least compete with them. And in the Premier League, again be near to Manchester City. If they can win a cup, and Bhargav bro is back now, I'll just add him in the stream. Yeah, bro.
Sorry about that. I don't know
Yeah,
what happened.
absolutely. The voice is good now.
Yeah, so no, so like with Arteta, like no, he has to get something next year. But I think that's why this year was so. It's such a, because the fan base has been fighting for over like what, like 7-8 years now, right? Like it's just gotten really intense, and now a title would have been nice because it's like it's kind of like the Liverpool situation. It's like winning's the thing that will like absolutely bring the fan base together. So it's kind of it's such a huge miss in a sense, and you could say
I
like
think, being very honest, with Liverpool, at least the difference has been being very honest and big up, brother, absolutely big up. And being very honest, I think with Liverpool, still they were 30 years without a title. So most of the generation was used to at least be without title for some time. I think Arsenal, a lot of the fan base, like you really mentioned well in the video, are from the past. We have seen their side win the invincible season, and now they are seeing this. So their expectation will always be different. And this is why, for me, Arsenal fans need to unite. Like, being very honest, you can have an opinion that I want Arteta out or whatever, but you should be backing the manager. And if after the match you're not happy, voice your opinion. But in the match, you need to be backing the players. Mikel Arteta, so far for me, even if you were Arteta out, he should have the humility to accept that he did a fantastic job, and I will trust the manager now and criticize him at the right time. And we've got Arsenal fan in the chat, Kesha Bhai. Kesha Bhai, do put your opinion. We'll end the video in some time, so do see the video in the back. And now on Arteta and a bit of prediction, a bit of prediction on the season. Like, first of all, going to you, Bhargav bro. Like, what do you think overall in a final custom on Arteta, and what's your expectation as a fan? Like, if you get, let's say, Timber, Havertz, Rice, and let's say you keep Partey, what's your expectation going in to the next season, and what do you minimum want from Arteta next season, and what's your prediction for the next season? Early prediction type of.
Yeah, for me, it's a deep European run. I think that's what I would like want the most. Is it's at Wembley, everything's set. Like when the for me, I think okay. So the Cronkies have won at every sport, right? I don't know if you know this, but like they've won at every single sport. The only thing missing is these two, the Champions League, and I think Josh is actually chasing that, like the Champions League trophy, because it means I don't know, like we love the Champions League, Americans, I guess. Like you can say, like we love the Champions League. So I think he's chasing it. It's just a matter of like I think a deep run in the Champions League is what they want the most. Like we're talking about the Cronkies. That's what I want. That's what I want too. Now with the league, it would be like. That's the biggest thing is you have to be in contention for the league. I mean, Liverpool, if you look at a couple years ago, they couldn't quite get it. They couldn't beat City, and that was for me, that's still one of the best like titles ever. That and that's why I still say that City team, I think, still is probably just because the nerve that they kept in coming back, overtaking Liverpool, and then going on like 11 game win streak.
18 match winning run.
Yeah, it was like. I still say that City team is still probably one of the best.
I think, being very honest, bro, as much as that City team was great, I think that black mark of losing to Tottenham in the Champions League will remain with them. Like, you cannot be Premier League Centurions in 98 points, and you cannot knock out Tottenham, Chelsea, Monaco in the Champions League. But overall, like, Kesha, bro, our aim is domestic treble. It is very achievable. And coming on to you, Bhargav, bro, your overall prediction of the season, early prediction only. And overall, just wanted to know you, like, your expectation next season is to go heavily for all trophies and try to compete. But do you believe like Arsenal are trying to fight for the Premier League? Do you believe that Arteta will try to take Carabao Cup and FA Cup lightly so he can put all eggs in the basket for Premier League, Champions League? Or do you think he's going to go for all the 4 competition this season? Because I think Arsenal should be going for all the trophies, and you can compete with the squad you have right now. Nelson can always do a good job in a Carabao Cup game, and it might not be a big trophy Carabao Cup game, but we have seen City, when they win it, they're unstoppable.
Yeah, so no, like what you just said, what this guy said too, it's domestic treble, domestic treble. That's like what you're chasing. It's for me, I don't know. Like I think where Arsenal's at right now, the expectation is to be in the hunt. I said this like years ago. It's like what should be like a standard for like any club, right? And it should be you should be in the hunt for either the Champions League or like the league. Like you should, like every year, like that should be the absolute bare minimum for like top clubs. Like winning them is a different story because there's a lot of circumstances, right? Like you could have half your injuries happen at the most crucial time. You could a team just gets really hot like City did last year out of nowhere. So it's a really competitive thing. But like at the end of the day, you have to be in the hunt for either of those two. And if you're gonna ask me like about those like minor trophies, well, I won't say minor because I think I like the FA Cup. I just wish they put like more of an award on that one because like the glamour of that cup should be. They diminish that like big time over the years. But I would love an FA Cup run. The League Cup would be nice because we just don't have it. But it would be nice. Like it's been a while. Like it would be nice to get like I just want to see some silverware, man, to be honest. Like it's been a while. Like I mean, it's like going to the gym. If you don't work out for a while, it's like you get that itch. Like that's where Arsenal fans are at. You want to see glory. But as far as like expectation goes, it's that's what next year I think the expectation is one big title. It has to be one big title at the bare minimum.
I do agree with that one. And taking a bit of chance before we end, after a very long time, we've been good in the transfer market. I do agree. And Keshav, bro, as a Chelsea fan, I'm jealous, but I think I really respect what Arsenal are doing. And See, for me, the only criticism I'll give in a signing, and I think most people will do, is Havertz, only if it works or not. But again, I'll say, as a Chelsea fan, it's not going to fail. I'm promising you, Havertz will not fail at Arsenal, because even in the future, the guy is so young, you can sell him in the future for profits as well. So I think Havertz should be backed by the fans. He is a versatile player, and sometimes you see Manchester City, like people don't like it, but they stockpile players. They spend like 200 million on fullbacks alone. Like they have Laporte, who's sitting on the bench, who is a 60 million centre back. Sometimes in the squad, you need a bit of players who can play a bit part from the bench. And again, I'll say, if Harvard doesn't work, you can criticize Arteta. But till then, you have to back him. And Arteta's transfer record, bar the first two windows where he signed Willian, Luis, is being like untouchable. Like he has got everything spot on. Ramsdale, I remember myself, people were saying relegation keeper, relegation keeper. He has been one of the top keepers in the league with your Alisson and Edison. He has performed so well. And you go towards Odegaard, people were saying, nah, man, he cannot make Odegaard do well. He's a broken player. And see where Odegaard is right now, one of the best in the league. He's putting numbers like Kevin De Bruyne. I'm not saying he's at that level right now, but he's putting up numbers like Kevin De Bruyne. Gabriel Jesus was the one City fans were saying, yeah, happy he's going. They can be happy, but Gabriel Jesus has been fantastic. You go towards Partey, and people are saying Partey is Finnish player. Last season, the guy played one of the best performances till 30 game weeks. Xhaka was the one who threw away the shirt, and fans thought no, and Arteta revived him. So I won't be celebrating parties and everything until it's failed, because you're going to look like an idiot. If Havertz goes there and scores against us and Arsenal win the league, your celebration parties are going to look like idiots. So I think we should stop. We take our 65 million, Arsenal have the player, and let's see. But again, I'll say, until Chelsea go there and sign a Caicedo, sign Onana, then there's no benefit of stockpiling the money if you're going to go there and sign Dross. We need to go there, sign the right players, and I think we all can move on. And before I end the video, I'll just say that I think Arsenal next season should at least be an expectation to compete for all trophies. See, for me, sacking is something you cannot straight away say, oh, we've not won a Premier League, sack him. If next year you finish like 2 points behind Manchester City, you reach a semi-final of the Champions League, I think that's a fantastic season. But if next season you finish 10 points behind Manchester City, you get knocked out in the round of 16 in the Champions League, you don't win the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, then questions need to be asked. I think that's the way Arsenal should be going for me next season. And I think Kronkets are finally showing where their mouth is, and finally showing that they want to make Arsenal compete with Bayern and Real, which Arsenal said when they were in 2008-9. And I think now the time is good. And overall, well done to Arsenal. Thank you, Bhargav bro, really coming here. It's an absolute pleasure. People in the chat, do hit the likes. And on the final note, Bhargav bro, your final thoughts and your final early prediction for the next season. My early prediction is Arsenal are going to be in the top 2. Other than that, I'll not say anything. Your final prediction, Bo, and final thoughts, and where people can find you.
Yeah, so I mean, what I expect from Arsenal, top 2 would be nice. I don't know, because okay, so I know the top 4 I have is like for me right now, as of right now, it's Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. I think that will be the top 4. In what order, I don't know, because
United?
I think Chelsea's going to be better. No, I think Chelsea will be a lot better. I don't know. I mean, so obviously, like I guess like I guess the news is you're after Balogun, right? So if you get that, I wouldn't be surprised if you get top 4. He's a really good player, and he actually fits the Chelsea model. I mean, if you ever been to the Kensington like Chelsea area, it's like it attracts a lot of Americans, and it's a really nice area too. And he would fit. I think he fits. He would fit there. I would love to keep him. It just depends on Arteta. Like I've kind of just left that up to them. I'm like, whatever, like at this point. But I think it would be such a huge loss for me. The reason I say Chelsea is gonna. I actually think like Pochettino, like some of the moves you made is really good. I think obviously you had to lose some of your depth, because you had you had like 27, 20. You had 40 players, so you had to lose some of your depth. So that's gonna happen. But it's just a matter of like. You also look at it like Liverpool still have chemistry issues. Man United is a big question mark right now. I mean, that one's a really big question mark, because of obviously the takeover.
I think just a bit of Liverpool, I'll say. I think for me, midfield is the biggest issue. They still have the goals in the team, and I do agree with Maradona United, where he's coming from. Man City B, Arsenal, oh my God, United and Liverpool.
Arsenal, yeah.
But I think for me on Chelsea, why I don't think we'll get top 4, I think the inexperience in the squad could be massive. Like, With Arsenal, bro, I can say here straight away, Saka is getting 30 GNA. Martinelli is getting 20, 30 GNA. I don't think anyone in Chelsea right now I can say is getting even 10 goals right now. That's the biggest problem. It could be divided. It could be very premature for me, but I think I don't want the pressure on Poch. I think the fans as Chelsea
Wow.
need to a bit calm down. I think the problem is if you don't have goals in the team, you're not going to succeed. Like you need to score goals. But I think we could be a stable team. We can end the season well. But I think being very honest, I think the three teams are most set. Arsenal, City, and Liverpool are the three most set teams in the league, followed by, I know United are one of them, but I think Newcastle are also one of them. People are sleeping on
Yeah,
Newcastle because they have Wilson and Isak. But on Liverpool, I'll say they have a lot of goals in the team. But again, they still need a DM. Fabinho for me is not at the same level. And Keshav, I think Arsenal, Liverpool, I somewhat agree, but I think City and Arsenal will be top two for me. That's clear as day. I think both of them will be fighting. My only thing is, how will Arsenal start the season? If Arsenal start the way they did last season, like an absolute express train, I think City ambition will they have the same ambition to win 4 in a row? I don't know. I think City will be exhausted after what's happened this year. I don't know. I just feel City might give a team a glimpse. Last season, Arsenal had it in the backs, but they did not have the depth. This time, if Arsenal take an 11-point lead, I think City are not coming back. I think City are
actually, let
not beating
me.
Arsenal.
I was gonna say with Chelsea, right? Last year, your problem, you had no. Your defense wasn't really that big of an
Yeah,
issue.
defense was good.
So you always have a chance to win. So the only thing you have to really like that. So Poch, as much as he gets a lot of criticism for like PSG's stint, you have to remember like Real Madrid like made like the most miraculous comeback, and that PSG team was actually really strong. Like
Yeah.
that PSG team was that PSG team was almost impossible to press. Like the only team that could have beat that team was Man City. Like Madrid pulled it out somehow. Like they pulled it out. They pulled one out of the hat. Like Poch actually is a decent coach. I think he gets a lot of criticism for that, and I think he's gonna make a lot of the players better. Now all he has to do is get the goals in, right? So if you get
I think
so
that's what
obviously you're getting somebody's coming like Balogun.
no.
I can imagine like Balogun. I wouldn't be surprised if just because if Arsenal are content on staying or content on like selling him, even I doubt Nketiah is going there. I don't know if you want Nketiah, but Harry Kane probably can't come. But
No,
Osimhen
he
would
will never
fit you,
come.
but he's just overpriced. He's just really overpriced.
No, I think
they
Levy
priced him
will
out.
never sell to us. Levy will never sell to us because I think Levy will be beaten by the fans on the way because I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
Tottenham, Chelsea hate each other, and reality, I
Yeah.
think if anyone does that, they're idiots. But that's a reality. Like football sometimes can get too much, and if Kane comes to Chelsea, I think there's going to be chaos on the street. Like because Chelsea, Tottenham hate each other, and I think Chelsea fans can bear player going to Arsenal because we have been used to. I don't think many Chelsea players have gone to Tottenham, and since when Willian and Luka Modric happened, I think both the clubs hate each other even in negotiations because they did not allow
Oh
us
yeah,
to have Modric, and we took Willian away from them in
I
the last
remember.
second. And I think Battle of the Bridge, I think
Oh yeah,
there's
I
a bit of
remember that.
hatred in
I
that.
remember that. But you just need one player. You just need one player. When you think about it, so Sterling's gonna have a better season, I think, like next year. Madueke is gonna. I don't know if he's gonna have his like standout season, but because of his game time and etc. I think he'll be good. With Mudryk, that's the question mark. So you just need one player, and if you get, I mean,
No, but I think
Nkunku's
the
coming
problem
in.
is, I do agree with you, but I think you see our midfield right now. It's a young
Yeah,
Casadei, young Andre Santos, who I want Poch to use. You still have Enzo Caicedo, who will need that 5-10
oh
matches to
yeah,
have that understanding. Then you go towards the attack again. I don't think we're getting a finisher that straight away comes and guarantees us 20 goals. And I think till then, we will be too much point behind. And big up here, what's up? Yes,
yeah. This
Arikman, this
is
has been half hour to big up Bhargav, big up bro. And I think overall, we'll just end on the final note. For me, overall, Bhargav bro, thank you so much, bro, to come on.
yeah,
Really,
yeah.
thank
No
you so
worries.
much. And bigger people in the chat, bigger people who have been here. Thank you so much, everyone. In future, we'll do Arsenal show as well. Thank you, Bhargav Rai. Thank you to chat.
Yeah,
It really means a lot, everyone. Please, people who have joined, do see the show in the back. I'll put the clips in the end as well from different news so you can find it easy. Do hit a like. And thank you, Bhargav bro. Thank you, everyone.